Hello, and welcome to today's evaluations training. Thank you so much for your time, and we do ask 3 things from our audience. If you have a question or comment that isn't answered in today's training, feel free to make a MyPers ticket, and your ticket will be answered in 3 to 5 business days. Once again, once you enter your MyPers ticket, it'll be answered in 3 to 5 business days. Lastly, we ask our audience to stay up to date in their Air Force AFIs. For this training, AFI 36-2406 will be our reference. Thank you, and let's get started.
Starting with the Air Force 910, I just wanted to quickly note that the process for the referral process for the Air Force 910 is the same as the Air Force 911. So we're just going to be focusing on the Air Force 910 as of right now, and then later we'll go on and I will present the Air Force 707. And please note that just like the 910 and 911, the Air Force 707 referral process is the same as the Air Force 912. So without further ado, we're going to start with section 1 of the Air Force 910. Now, section 1, nothing unusual happens here. It's pretty much the same process as filling out a normal 910. So the ratee's name, social, rank, etc. will be listed right here. Section 2, this is where you will input the job description, primary duties, additional duties, tasks, and responsibilities. Bullets are limited to a maximum of 2 per line, and white space is authorized in accordance with AFI 36-2406 1.3.3. For section 3 here, if the rating reflects met some but not all expectations in section 3, 4, or 5, the referring evaluator needs to state the specific reason for the referral. And that's where you input the derogatory comment, which makes this a referral EPR. Please note, met some but not all expectations rating will no longer be considered a mandatory referral EPR. Member cannot receive an overall rating found in section 6 of exceed most, if not all, expectations. So this is referring to the overall performance found here. So met some but not all expectations, met all expectations, exceeded some but not all expectations can be selected, but never exceed most, if not all, expectations. So this cannot be selected if this is a referral EPR. Going back to section 3, the referral memorandum found in AFI 36-2406, figure 1.1. Please remember to attach this along with the EPR. So when submitting a completed referral EPR, please make sure it's one continuous document starting with the Air Force form itself, followed by the MFR, and any rebuttal comments or certified mailing receipts in VPC. Moving on to section 4, you can input the derogatory comment in this section as well, and or any regular bullets. If any bullets were not provided, please state that this section is not used. Now for section 5, same rules apply. Comments will be added in the sections if the report is a referral report. Please make sure you are using the most up-to-date version. Right now it's version 4, and you can find the most up-to-date version in EPUBs. Now, if you're using version 3 of this Air Force Form 910 and select met some but not all expectations, this version 3 will automatically block out block 2 of this which will prevent you from adding any comments. So make sure you use version 4 found in EPUBs. All right. Moving on to section 6. I just want to clarify again that met some but not all expectations, met all expectations, exceed some but not all expectations can be selected, exceed most if not all expectations cannot be selected. Moving on to section 7, this is where you put the rater's information, duty title, etc. And make sure this whenever the radio signs that this date matches what's on the MFR, which I'll show you right here. So make sure it matches the MFR itself right here, and I'll go more in depth on the MFR itself once we're done reviewing the EPR itself. Moving on to section 8. This is where you input either these two mandatory comments. The first mandatory comment is comments from the raidee were requested but not received within the required period. This is when if the raidee decides not to submit a rebuttal comment, that's when you submit. That's where you will input this mandatory comment here. Or the second mandatory comment is, I have carefully considered, insert raidee's name, comments to the referral document of date. This date right here should match the raidee's date up here and should match the memorandum itself. This mandatory comment means that there was a rebuttal submitted and I have carefully considered the raidee's name comments to the referral document as is. Now, the additional rater will input their name here, due title, and signature. Please note that the date for when the additional rater can sign, it depends, or there's a time period on when the additional rater can sign. The time period is 3 duty days for AGR and 30 30 calendar days for non-EAD. And that time period starts when the raidee acknowledgement, when the raidee signs here in the acknowledgement box here. That's when that time period start. Again, that is 3 duty days for AGR, 30 calendar days for non-EAD. That's the time period for when the additional rater has to wait and sign. And please note that even if the raidee themselves said, I'm not going to provide any rebuttal comment, or if they provide a rebuttal comment early, they still have to wait that mandatory time period of 3 duty days for AGR or 30 calendar days for non-EAD members. Moving on to section 9 of the Air Force 910. Same rules apply. The commander can input comments here, or if comments were not provided, this section is not used. Now, if the raidee is promotion eligible for reservists, they have two options. Is either the commander can recommend that they do not promote, or they can mark them as not ready now. For Air National Guard members, their only option is not ready now. Block 4, this is the referral report. Make sure that this is selected yes. And quality force is always going to be yes no matter what. And then this is where the commander will sign. Now the commander doesn't have a time limit for when he can sign. He can sign the same date as when the additional rater signs here or anything after. And please make sure that when the rating chain is signing, that it's all in sequential order. And due to COVID, there can be a mix of either wet or digital signatures, but we preferred wet signatures so we know that there was face-to-face interaction. And just a reminder that when submitting this referral EPR into VPC, that it's all one continuous document starting with the Air Force form, followed by the MFR, and any rebuttal comment or certified mailing receipts afterwards. All right, moving on to the MFR itself, which can be found in AFI 36-2406 1.1. This template is you can copy and paste this template from the AFI and input the template on your own letterhead. Right now, we don't have a letterhead because this is just an example. Reminder that this date should match when the rater signed up here of the MFR. And then here, this is where you input the Ratee's rank and name, followed by the Ratee's functional address symbol. The from subject line is where you put the functional address symbol and complete address of the referring evaluator. Subject line is where this indicates either this is an enlisted performance report or an education slash training report. For this example, we are using EPR as shown above. All right, now paragraph 1. Um, this is where you will specifically state why the evaluation is being referred. Please make sure this matches what the derogatory comment you provided up in the EPR itself in paragraph 1. So yes, please specifically state all the derogatory comment you have provided. Moving on to paragraph number 2. Here you will input this mandatory comment where you send your comments to, and then you input the additional rater's name followed by their mailing address or email, and then just a reminder that the additional rater cannot sign until there's a rating period for when the additional rater can sign, which is going to be 3 duty days for AGR, 30 calendar days for non-EAD members, and this time period will start when the Ratee acknowledges here in the acknowledges box. All right. Paragraph 3 stays the same. You don't really have to alter this. And then this is where the signature of the referring evaluator will sign here. Right now it's Tech Sergeant James Jones, not a real person. And then the Ratee acknowledgement box that I was referring to this whole time, you input right now it's the Air Force 910, and then as appropriate with the closeout date provided in section 1, then the name of the next evaluator, followed by the Ratee's graded name, and then the functional address symbol and name of the next evaluator. Here, the Ratee will acknowledge the time they're assigning the MFR itself, followed by the date, and then the signature of the Ratee themselves. All right. Now, just a reminder that the referring process I just showed you for the 910 is the same as the Air Force 911, so we're gonna be moving on to the Air Force 707 referring process. And please note that the Air Force 707 referring process is the same as the Air Force 912, so that's why I'm just gonna be focusing on the Air Force 707 Officer Performance Report for now. Starting off with section 1 is you're gonna, just like the Air Force 910, you input the Ratee's name, social, etc. Make sure the SRID is present here. Section 2 is where you list their job description, input their primary duties, additional duties, tasks, and responsibilities. Section 3 is when, since this is a referring OPR does not meet standards is marked. And please provide a derogatory comment to support the rendering of the referrer OPR in accordance with AFI 36-2406 1.10. Please note that the date in which the rater signs the OPR should be the same date OPR referral is provided to the member found in section 11. Also, the additional rater cannot sign until 3 duty days for AGR, 30 calendar days for non-EAD members after the Ratee acknowledges / signs the referral memos found in section 11, which is down here. And I'll go more in depth on that when we get to the second page. Now for the feedback, make sure this feedback is in line with the period of report, nothing before, nothing after. And if the feedback date wasn't accomplished, input not available for date and the reason why the feedback wasn't accomplished. Here you input the rater's name, duty title, and this signature, followed by the date, which this date should match the date down here when the referring evaluator signs here, just like the MFR we went over earlier. Moving on to section 5, for the additional raters overall assessment, they also have a mandatory two mandatory comments that they have to input. The first one, comments from the ratee were not requested, but were not received within the required period. This is when the ratee decides to not submit a rebuttal comment. Or the second mandatory comment you can input is, I have carefully considered, input ratee's name, comments to the referral document of the date, and this date should match the rater's signature date, which should match in section 11 the date for when the rater signed here. And this mandatory comment, is referring to when the ratee actually did submit a rebuttal comment. And then the additional rater name is here, followed by the duty title, and then they will have to wait that 3 duty days for AGR or 30 calendar days for non-ED time frame from when the ratee's acknowledgement down here. So whatever date the ratee signed here, that's what start that 3 duty days for AGR or 30 calendar days for non-EAD members for the additional raters to sign. Section 6, same rules apply as a normal OPR to referral. And you input the name, duty title, and the reviewer's duty title, followed by their signature. And there's no time limit for when they can sign. They can sign the same day as when the additional rater can, or anything after. Just make sure it's all in sequential order. It could be mix and match due to COVID with a wet signature or digital signature, and then followed by the ratee's acknowledgement signature date. Here, moving on to the second page, um, section 9 is the performance factor. This, please mark what is closely resembles to the derogatory comment you provided here, and it can be more than one reason. Moving on to section 11 that I was referring to earlier in the first page. Now, section 11 is it's like a carbon copy of the MFR itself. That's why the Air Force 707 and the Air Force 912 does not require an MFR because the MFR is basically the second page here. So this first one is the first paragraph of the MFR itself. So this is where you will specifically state the derogatory comment which made this an OPR, a referral. This represents the second paragraph of the MFR, which you will input the additional rater's rank, name, along with the physical mailing address / email address of the additional rater. This is followed by the name, rank of the referring evaluator, signed here. Date should match when the rater signed up here, and then the ratee's acknowledgement here, which will start the time frame for when the additional rater can sign. Again, that's going to be 3 duty days for AGR or 30 calendar days for non-EAD. Now, when submitting the Air Force 707 into VPC, please make sure this is one continuous document followed by any rebuttal comment, or certified mail link receipt. All right, I believe that concludes the referral process for the Air Force 707. I will be opening this up for any questions, comments, concerns you may have.
This is Lieutenant Colonel Kavanaugh from the Colorado Air National Guard. So I just have one question. So what if the member, the ratee, doesn't sign the OPR or the referral memo, that they are not wanting to sign it? Can you still annotate on the OPR that individual is unwilling to sign or not able to sign?
Yes, and there should be a drop-down option here saying that the ratee themselves refuse to sign or not available to sign, but I would wait like 30 calendar days to give them a chance to sign it. If not, then anyone from the routing chain who signed the OPR itself can sign in place of the ratee, but make sure that when the drop down option is selected.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Just wanted to
Nope.
make sure.
No problem. All right, let's see who else has a question. All right, I believe Master Sergeant Jonathan Stallings. Do you have a question?
Hey, sir, it's Chief Stallings from North Carolina. Just looking clarification. Your template says on 910 type of signature digital. So is that optional as far as wet signature or digital, or
Yes,
a preference versus AFI?
that is yeah, whenever the member is signing either wet or digital, please make sure if they're signing wet signature that the type of signature you use in the drop down
Consistent
is,
throughout.
yeah, it has to be consistent. So, digital if you're signing digital, manual if you're signing wet. And it could be
Roger
mix
that.
or match.
All right, thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Hello, sir. This is Sergeant Marino.
Hello.
There's some questions regarding on the meet some but not all expectations. So in the bullet, you'll have, if it's in section 3 and 4, that it'll need a specific reason. But at the same time, if somebody marks met some but not all, and but they don't put a referring comment that's derogatory in any way, is that still considered a referral? Okay.
No, so if met some but not all expectations were selected, that would not make it an automatic referral. What makes it a referral is the derogatory comment that followed met some but not all expectations.
Okay, so perfect. So on a fitness, so they could put that a failed PT test, but there's an improvement in
Yes.
section 3 and 4, or does that have to go in section 5?
It can be in section 3 and 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yep.
So as long as there's an improvement, it's not a referral, unless they say that they're just failing to maintain standards, then it becomes a referral.
Yes. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tech Sergeant Heine.
So if you put failed fitness test, that would be considered derogatory. So like an example improvement bullet for that would be member is working towards improving fitness scores. As long as the failed fitness is not added, then it's not derogatory and it's just an improvement bullet.
Copy. Perfect. That answered our question. Thank you so very much.
No problem.
Like Sergeant Thatch said, if you have any questions that weren't answered, please feel free to open a My PERS incident. Please do not reach out to Sergeant Thatch or myself directly.
All right, that concludes our meeting for today. Thank you all for attending, and I hope you have a wonderful day.